So let's get started. One of the first books that affected me at a very young age was one that they made me read. I think I was in 5th or 6th grade. And it was something that I was kind of surprised to have in my mental system at the point, but I think we're going to show it here on the screen. And it was a book called SIDDHARTHA. And this was a really fascinating book by Hermann Hesse for me to read when I was 10, 11 years old. I was in San Diego, growing up in America in the 70s, basically, and early 80s. I was kind of taught the American dream, the power of the dollar. And for me, there were only winners and losers. There were only people that made money and didn't make money. There were only successes and there was no right and wrong. There was no good and bad, and that things could just be. And it was kind of an introduction to a lot of Buddhist ideas that for me as a kid, I just couldn't get my head around because it was completely opposite of everything that my country stood for and what I thought everything did stand for. And I think it probably planted the seed for me to explore a lot of this stuff further in the terms of London Real and speaking with lots of other guests that have a more spiritual component to them and be open to things that Mantak Chia tells me. And then, to be honest, a lot of my guests tell me, from Dorian Yates to Joe Dispenza to Bruce Lipton and all of these people, just different kinds of ideas. And so this was a book that had a big effect on me and really planted that seed. I still remember being confused with this kind of Buddhist concept that whatever is, and it's only humans that actually judge something to be good or bad. And it's a really interesting way to think about your life, because we can walk around and say this is good and this is bad, but in the grand scheme of things, there is no real good or bad, and no one's really going to care a billion years from now. So it's always a great way of looking at life. Is it you that brings judgment to a circumstance based on all of your baggage and all of your programming, versus the event actually being a positive or a negative? So something really to think about there. And my first book that really changed the way I thought and set me up probably for doing what I do today, which is opening people into the studio, getting those ideas into my head. Sometimes I think the people I speak to in the chair are wrong, but before I tell them that they're wrong, I try to listen first, because my opinions constantly change. And somebody I thought who was crazy a few years ago, like David Icke, now makes me think a lot of what he has to say is about opening your mind and not basically swallowing the pill that the whole world wants you to swallow, and to think differently and try to be yourself and be intuitive about what you think is right. At London Real, we believe that individual transformation can change the world. Join us and start your journey today.